Hello. Let's do a brief sound check. Let's make sure that you can hear me and that you can hear our lovely facilitator, Priscilla.
Hello, everyone. I'm sure they'd be able to hear me just fine.
I'll check and just make sure we don't have any interference or anything like that. They want me to take off my shoes. This is becoming a theme. I like my shoes.
I think it better ground you.
Like the idea of being completely barefooted is what's coming up. Okay, so we're here today with our lovely facilitator, quantum healing hypnosis practitioner and channel, Priscilla Lewis. And you can find her just by, as you see her name on the screen, priscillalewis.com. She's amazing. You'll love her YouTube channel and the work that she's doing in the world as well. So Priscilla and I go way back and working together and helping each other for a long time. So I'm happy to have her here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for showing up for us again and again. So my state of awareness as a channel recently has been in connection with our own collective. And many of you are asking, what is the Human Conscious Collective? So let's start there. What is it? It's you. And it's the most dominant state of you and all the other subdominant states of beliefs and feelings and lessons that you're currently going through, where you are in your ascension progress. All of that's in there. So what I'm finding within that is that it's not just one species. Being human is an interesting experiment. And from the starseed nature of that, what I'm observing as a galactic historian is that we are a conglomerate of many various types of species that have been here for a very, very long time. And I don't mean thousands of years. I don't mean millions of years. I mean billions of years. In terms of when we became human, that might be another story. But we're not just human, we're everything. So you're going to get many potentials, many expressions within that, many types of opinions and perspectives of various conglomerate galactic race species. So it's like all of the beings, if you will, that are present genetically in this grand experiment that you call human. That is what the Human Conscious Collective is. So if hopefully I am describing that well. And lately, what I'm finding is that I'm having a lot of dreams about certain things that people are, within this past week, I've been trying to focus, and what I'm observing is that people are standing on one side of a massive wall, a massive fence. And there are only a few beings in the collective that are choosing to sit on the fence, look at each side of the fence, and are absolutely refusing to go one way or the other. So I'm having a lot of dreams about that as well. So there's some collective beings, there's some humans that are on the fence of things and trying to balance things out, trying to be peacekeepers, mitigators, balancers. I view Priscilla as a being like that, by the way. And then there's kind of like some fish shaking going on the other sides of the fence. So, for example, I'll give you my most recent observation of fish shaking. Some friends of mine are in a conversation, most of which is happening on social media, but we all know each other, locally as well, in person. And, one of my friends said, I just want to put this out there that just kind of our right to wear a mask or not, to take a vaccine or not, to, do what we will with our bodies or not. Let me tell you, there was two sides of this coin that came up, and they came up joining together to sort of like pull that person off that fence and be like, you will get on this side or that side. If you don't, we're going to shake our fists at you and be angry. So it was a tense experience to observe. And that's a lot of what I've been dreaming about, is people trying to learn that it's okay to be different, to sit on a wall and not choose to jump on one side or the other, to kind of, and also to be pulling people up on that wall. This is what avatars do. We see people that are divided. We see theories that are divided, and we say, it's okay to have that theory. It's okay to have that theory. You know, no one's wrong. Everyone's right. And when we're out of fear, how can we take where we're aligning in being right about our fear and being right about our love and being right about our experience and balance it with others? So that's kind of where people long to go in Human Conscious Collective, is that balance, okay? But they're not there yet. We got about 40% of that collective currently, according to my dream last night, being in anti-vaccination, anti-mask wearing as well, and also just really in a space of, you will not tell me what to do, and I will honor my body, and I will not put vaccines in my body. I will not, if there's a common vaccine that comes about through the COVID-19, you will not be making me do anything, because my body is mine. I really honor that, by the way. Really love that. And then another side on the other side of that fence was, you will do this because our government says so. You will take a vaccine. It will be mandatory. You will wear a mask. You will stay away from us because you're making us sick. Like, you will distance from us, and you will honor where we stand. And I was kind of like sitting on the middle, you know, in my collective, we were like, okay, she doesn't have to take that vaccine. She does need to put a mask on around you. If she chooses to be around you. She doesn't have to choose around you. She may say, I don't want to wear a mask, therefore I'm going to walk away and not be around you and honor you and me. But if she wants to be around you, then she may put on the mask and things like that out of respect for where you stand, if she's okay with it. So it's kind of like, where are we okay with ourselves and each other? It was kind of a Human Conscious Collective struggling to find the middle ground of us and them. Huge state of unrest, the most state of unrest I have ever seen in any lifetime since Atlantis and Lemuria, by the way. So what I got was a call for balance, like humans were begging me for a balance. And within that begging and crying and pleading were people crying, and they were like, I'm done. If I see one more conspiracy video, if I see one more people forcing me to put on a mask, if I see one more talk of this and one more talk of that, I'm literally going to get so depressed. And those were sad. You know, there was a small collective of that going on that are rising, sadly enough, and feeling just like, I don't want to hear from other side of you. You guys leave me alone. There's a little bit of that as well. So it was a very split collective, the most split that I've seen in a long time. Not one right, not one wrong, but everybody equally kind of just trying to find their power and trying to be free. What are you observing as a channel and teacher, Priscilla?
I'm definitely seeing the split, and a lot of people are very unsure of which direction they need to be taking. And I feel like one half of the split they're doing their research and they are looking at all the content that's available online. But I feel like there is still a lot of falling into fear, and I think we need to remember to stand in our power.
That's interesting, because I asked about that too, you know, when I was connecting to the Human Conscious Collective this week. And then they asked me a question back. You asked me a question back, and you were like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I get to hear my voice heard by being angry, and then no one's hearing me if I'm not being loud enough, because I'm not angry enough, because I'm not, and then that was fear too. And then people didn't know quite how to do that peaceably. So it was very interesting. Within the midst of that, a spokesbeing came forth. You guys want to know who it is? Who the ambassador for the Human Conscious Collective came forth in being? I didn't even tell Priscilla this. I'm wondering if you can guess. Who do you guys think it is? Spokesperson of balance, peace, mediator.
Well, I'm going to go for Dolores, but next to Dolores, I would say Nostradamus.
You're so close. It's Gandhi. Yeah, that's who came for me. Now, granted, I've actually seen Nostradamus come forward for other channels who want to talk to the whole collective. So, but for me, it came forth as Gandhi. This is what
I feel like Nostradamus is coming forward a lot now to channels, and It's like, this is his time where whatever he found back in the day, this was my purpose. This is my technology. This is like, what are you going to use it for good or bad? This is now the time to push humanity forward in the direction you want to go in.
Yeah. So that's fair. I didn't expect that, but I had put out a call to speak with Gandhi, and I've never publicly channeled Gandhi, but Gandhi's just a spokesperson. So what that means is that just happens to be the voice that's speaking for this collective today, because otherwise what you're going to get is a bunch of confusion and a bunch of different perspectives and things that just make you go, huh? Because humans tend to do that. We tend to like look for the right. We tend to like look for the truth. We tend to look for something to grasp onto as the way. And Gandhi is a proponent of all ways, all truths, which is why I was really hoping that he'd come forth, but I just didn't know it would be coming forth today. So that's who you have as your spokesperson. And I'm going to sleep now, and you can continue to ask your questions as you may.
Okay. Welcome.
I can see that an age of balance is beginning. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Today you have come forward to channel the Human Conscience Collective. Before we proceed with asking questions, if we may, would you like to start off with a message for the Human Conscience Collective?
As you ask yourselves, within your minds, within your bodies, within your hearts, what is freedom? I ask you to further ponder the nature of balance. I ask you to further ponder the wonder of the sciences that your earth presents. I ask you to observe this as if you held a large microscope in your hand. If you were looking at yourselves and holding the microscope, all of the tiny little creatures, all of the microbes, all of the organisms that make up the micro and the macro are looking back at you because they are vulnerable, they're innocent, and you hold the power to shine a light. You hold the power to shield them. You hold also a grand power to destroy with fire. What will you choose? You're at a precipice of choice. And you're operating within that choice. You have been clinging to your right for something, your power, as you call it, for so long that your muscles tire in your hands. And this is how tightly you cling, if truth can be described as the microscope that you hold to observe the innocence of plants, animals, children. Will you nourish the innocent with the power of loving choice? As we leave one era to enter another era, will you continue the cycles of being in power over these innocent beings because you have felt in power under someone else, perhaps governmental systems, at a local or international level? The wheel of time has stopped. All choices come into their power together simultaneously for the grand discernment and for your choosing, not one more powerful than another. Can you find your balance in this without taking away power from the innocent because you have felt vulnerable and weak? Can you stand in this power without wielding it over the innocent as well, and thereby weakening their feelings of vulnerability? The wheel of karma has stopped spinning. You're entering a unique time on your planet, a time of choice. Only you can decide what happens now. I encourage your questions, not merely to me, but to all. And primarily, the questions must begin within.
Thank you very much. One of the big questions that we all have is about belief systems. How can we best allow negative belief systems and patterns to fall away?
What if for a moment we reviewed negative or positive in a completely different construct? What if for a moment we can eliminate the word negative and the word positive from your question? What would you replace it with? What then? What are you wishing to fall away? In this age, where you are headed towards is acceptance of all belief patterns, and the only way out of a massive collective conditioning is through that conditioning. Do you see what I mean, dear ones?
Going within and recognizing the condition, which has therefore become a belief.
Recognizing the power of separation when you label a belief as bad or good, negative or positive, presents the condition that you call duality. It is an unfruitful condition at worst, a creative condition at best. It's a simple energy of changing your language. Perhaps if you ask yourselves the question, what belief systems are no longer serving me? you can't get a grasp on what new belief systems might serve. You're pioneering that technology now. And of course, with grand uncertainty, the mind attempts to dictate and denote fear in its own way. There are many denotations and connotations within this style of learning that no longer serves. But we must unravel this style of learning that is no longer useful, that dictates one to stand in such polarity. What else can you say in your inquiry towards yourselves other than negative, positive, good, bad? It's either helpful or not. And perhaps if we switch the questioning rather diplomatically to the words in service or not in service. It's not a matter of choosing whether to be in service of yourself or in service of others, as if there is only this way or that way. It is a matter of forming a new paradigm of service. Again, it's you and them, in service to you and in service to others. This is the new paradigm which you seek. And the old way of questioning will fall away instantly.
Thank you. I think many of us now being at home and not doing our regular jobs, we used to be so busy doing things that weren't necessarily of service to humanity. How do we move forward with being of service? What will our new jobs look like in this world that we're moving into?
That's rather impossible to visualize at this moment, simply because the collective of you has not chosen. And there are several ways to choose. Many of you are stating to yourselves, I just simply wish to go back to the normal. I want to go back to my job that was working for me. Okay, that's right for you then, if you're being honest with yourselves. But are you? There is no right or wrong answer to this question that you present to me today, dear ones. And the old normal might still serve for some. Granted, it doesn't appear to be that for the majority of you that that's where you wish to go. Yet when you attempt to look forward, you just can't perceive what the new normal looks like. And that is because, again, you haven't chosen that for yourselves. You can be in service to others the moment you decide what feels best to you and your hearts. What creative power helps you serve yourselves? What causes the greatest stirring of the passions within your hearts, your minds, and your bodies? What could you see yourself feeling, not just doing? If money were not an object, what could you see yourself feeling and then doing at a daily basis that would serve you and serve others? I'm sure you see where I'm going with this platform. You are the pioneers of new technologies, of a new era. Remember, it is impossible for anyone to take your power from you. Absolutely livid. Just an absurd thought, correct? That the most powerful gods come into bodies, create several different species within those bodies, and then you're worried about someone taking your power away? Impossible.
I think we've simply forgotten of how powerful we are.
That appears to be the dilemma.
Well, this life comes with many life challenges, and some of those challenges involves forgiveness. And if we do choose to forgive, does this act ripple out across all lifetimes?
Oh, it most certainly can, and has many times before. Forgiveness is the starting point of the remembrance of your power. But let's back up. You often confuse powerlessness with forgiveness, which means that you are misunderstanding and misperceiving the true definition of forgiveness. The true definition of forgiveness simply is to reinstate power to yourself and others by choosing a loving, compassionate thought, by choosing innocence in that moment. And to do otherwise means that you portray an interesting degree of disassociation from your own truth. And to do otherwise means that you betray yourselves because you betray the light of God within you anytime you refuse to see anything other than the truth, which is that all are innocent. All are innocent. Now, before you cast some stones in my direction, I must elaborate that there is a distinct difference between the innocent, loving essence of a being and their actions. Indeed, it is powerful to shield yourself from such actions. You are intelligent beings of choice and discerning power, and within such discerning power, when you choose again, there are those that you must cut from your lives. Perhaps it's temporary, perhaps it's permanent. There are energies from which you must shield because you no longer align to such powerlessness. And that is a loving choice.
At this time, there's so much pain because we are losing a sense of connection. But how can we be graceful with this pain that we're feeling, not only towards ourselves, but towards others, whilst also serving as a bridge of consciousness?
All right, then. Visualize this for a moment. The great chasm. Those who love to serve others, to the extent perhaps of disempowerment even, but nonetheless loving to serve. On one side of a cliff, a vast, unreachable chasm. In between, the other side, who simply love to serve themselves at the expense of others. Why does this occur? They are fearful. And say we lay out a bridge, as you say, between the various collectives of consciousness right now. We've done that many times. We do this, you do this, we all do this. But within your fear, you burn the bridge. You start to walk across and you are on the bridge that you created, carrying torches and lighting your way with your truth. And your truth is burning your own bridge to the other side. And then there's the other of you. You use your truth as a boomerang, as if you hit someone on the other side with it, that it will bounce back and you will catch it. Oh, it slams you in the face. It hurts, doesn't it? You are using your words and your truths behind such words as weapons to destroy each other and to burn this bridge that you have effectively created. If you all fear the same thing, you can all love the same thing. Does this pertain to your question? Or does it even perhaps eliminate it?
I think you've covered the question and more. But I would like the questioner Luke Donnelly to just leave a comment if he wants some further clarification, if he could say so. But I think it was answered beautifully. Thank you.
In order to discover and uncover the nature of pain, one must, as you say, quarantine oneself from one's own fear. You are simply separating from fear in order to embrace the fear that created the separation to begin with. Hence why the quarantine was indeed necessary. And now you can perceive this pain in a way simply by choosing to flip the other side of the coin around as soon as you're ready, not before. But say all of your pain were in a penny jar. Do you remember as children, you all had the penny jar? It's a small little lid with a small little slit. And in the inside, there are hundreds of pennies. And you are dropping in coins, one by one. And you are placing valuation systems on such coins. You really want that quarter, don't you? That quarter right now in your collective is bitterness, resentment. You have forced such valuation systems. And then you recognize the penny, and you have placed the valuation system of love as a 1 center. Forgiveness, maybe a 5. Liberation, maybe a 10 center. I'm sure you understand my analogy.
Definitely.
Valuation systems flipped around. The quarter should be love.
It does seem like we have lost our focus. And what Doro is saying is, why do so many of us struggling with holding our focus, for example, during meditation? What is exactly that we have unlearned here? And how can we regain our intentional focus?
The word unlearn negates so much of your power. Perhaps you could stand to restate that question a little differently. Why don't you place a powerful valuation system on the learning that you have effectively chosen for not thousands, not millions, but billions of your years? This is nothing to unlearn. You've done that. You're simply remembering what you call a new way. You pioneer this new way by remembering the truth of what has always been. Truth is simple. Truth is very easy to understand and to comprehend. You cling to what we call the universal law of chaos. You call this your free will. You're clinging to it, although it's quite a distortion of the more applicable law, which is universal law of oneness. Yet you cling to the law of chaos. And within the nature of free will on your planet, it evokes and invokes destruction and chaos. Remember that, and you'll be on track. Also, remembering the universal laws of oneness does dictate that you must forgive all. If you want, notice the chaos in that, the confusion when I say you must, and then if you want. You must, because you chose, but only if you want. There's such confusion in words hence why you are distracted. Your language patterns cause you to have several different choices within the universal law of chaos, which of course one can forget oneness very easily within that. Pick something, pick anything, make sure it's loving, start there. But understand that within this one choice, there are several variations and deviations and distortions that you can choose. And the power of choice is always yours. Of course, you are distracted because you do not remember your power. For the sake of time, this might need to occur in another class, in another sitting, if you will. We could go on and on about this dilemma. You choose to be powerful gods, but you don't remember your power.
What about fear? Some of us are afraid of the power of the pharmaceutical companies to influence the government to force vaccines. What shall we do when we feel this fear?
Now, I'm not one to direct you in your power of choice, dear ones. I am not one to utilize the word should or shall. However, let's look at very discerningly the words that you use. I am afraid that my governments will do what? Do you not hold the power to say no or yes to medicines of all varieties? Of course you do. This, keeping in mind, let's compare this with an extreme, just for the sake of understanding in the mind, shall we? If we will. You are likening this degree of disempowerment with the same as physical torture. Now, in this extreme example, if someone is holding your bodies down and causing extreme physical suffering, guess what? You don't have control over your bodies. Is someone holding you down right now and saying, I'm poking this needle into your body and therefore you will get this vaccine? Is someone saying, I am forcibly doing this to you? And let's say they did. But believe us, you're not aligned to that. But for the sake of awareness of where your minds will go in such fear, let's say they did. There's still one thing, one powerful facet of your collective which you still control. And this is the power of your minds. No one can take that. Remember this. Remember your power of choice in your minds. And then you will never be aligned with any matter of physical force. You still are very free beings. Do not allow anyone or anything to convince you otherwise.
Can we change the frequency of the vaccines if we are forced to put it into our bodies? Like Dr. Emoto would probably say, to put positive thoughts would change the frequency to a state of a more positive one?
Of course. But here's the nature of the dilemma within that train of thought, shall we? You wish to believe in the essence of transmutation, which is exactly the art that happens in magic and what you call the miracle. Yet, you don't believe in magic or the miracle. Do you see the dilemma? In that goal, it's going to take some work. And now let's look at the inefficiency of the line of question itself. You are not and will not physically be held down and have a vaccine forced into your system. That won't happen. You can still say no. And now your minds will put you forth an interesting array of trickery. Within my answer today, you can still say no. And I hear your minds going, but I work in healthcare, but I want to get on the airplanes, but I want to immigrate to another country, but I want to. Okay, then you still have the power of choice. You can change a line of work. You can change a mode of travel. You can change so many things. Still, there will be effective human collective loopholes that you begin to create as a human conscious belief system. If you don't like it, change it. How do you do that? Peaceful, supportive systems, peaceful rallies, peaceful protest. And if collectively you all say no, guess what? These beings that you fear, that you call the elites, will fall.
Thank you. I'm sure that's going to uplift many of us. How does individual choice interact with collective choice when multiple timelines and dimensions exist?
You can choose to be the ambassadors of balance, of harmony. You may choose one choice, you may choose two, you may choose one and then another and then another and then go back to another. You may conglomerate the necessity of all choices into one path. Indeed, doesn't that feel powerful?
It does.
Now let's look at it from another perspective. Humans collectively have a need to seek one choice only. Us or them. My way or your way. Right way or wrong way. Powerful way, disempowerful way. Loving way, fearful way. We are asking you because you are creating for the first time in galactic history of this universe the middle way. Always are true. Always are right. What then? What does that look like to you?
It brings a sense of empowerment.
Does it? The mind struggles with the concept still in your collectives. You literally become confused when I say to you, their way is right too. No one is going to force anything over you, dear ones, unless you allow. You are the ultimate power of consent. You and only you.
And is it true that every single thing that was ever thought of exists in some dimensional reality?
Ah, yes, that concept. Yes, that is true. But consider that those realms lie in the realms primarily of creative illusion, which primarily are untrue, albeit grand, powerful realms of illusion that currently you're allowing to scare you into submission. When you cling to the truth in every reality, do not allow fear of these realities to consume you. You choose your ultimate realities. while understanding that while you live on a body here on this planet, you are in a game. Play it well.
I think maybe that is what we forget also, to have fun in the creation process.
And there you have it. Some of you love the fun of the drama, and you think that you don't. But we see you eagerly awaiting the next argument, the next fight, the next computer drama, the next fight with your employer, the next opportunity to say no to your boss. You love that. And what you love,
And
what you love is more.
Thank you. Sorry. And what are the objectives of the game?
The objectives currently in your collective is to find a balance between what you love and what you fear, so that all fears diminish, that you may observe others being in fear and be in service by sending love to that fear, not joining it, sending love to it. You can maintain the power of your minds, the power over your bodies. You can maintain your freedom. You can say no to others' constructs of power over or under, and still be intensely in love with humanity, intensely in love with the innocence of all that is. That is the objective. Grace is the objective.
May I ask, who is part of the human conscious collective? How does this collective and others fit into our understanding of oneness?
That's a rather complicated and creative answer. From the beginning of what you call time in creativity upon your planet, there were many types of beings living, just a few, in various geographical locations on your planet. Some began with the constructs of being in service to others. Some began in the constructs of being in service to themselves. No way was right, no way was wrong. All served one universal law that you call unity or oneness. And this is how it began. And then, of course, one race wanted power over the other, and then it began. The creative power of choice, the creative destruction of chaos. For of course, oneness does not supersede your free will. You chose destruction and chaos again and again and again. And the races that indicated the power over such choices, because you gave it to them willingly, began to require an intervention, if you will, from a galactic perspective of many other races, through various councils that came together, who now call themselves the Council of Nine. 9 various species on your planet attempting to live together creatively and in oneness. Seems maddening at times. Needs intervention at times. Currently, you require shielding, safety. You have sent out a massive call to the Council of Nine, and we hear your pleas. We hear your calls deeply in our hearts. We come to shield you from the choices that you've created because of your fear. And we now intervene. We heard your call. Does this answer your question?
Yes, it does. It's almost as if the Council of Nine is working on behalf of Source or oneness. Would that make sense?
The emissaries in your skies, the spiritual guardians of all of the beings that are involved in this experiment that you call Earth are aware. And the game is shifting. But are you going to be the ones now that, because of your fear, turn the wheel of karma back on? Will you yield your power over others and recreate the same turn of events that got you here? It is a choice. We have temporarily halted time. Now, don't hurry up and choose. Take your time. Don't be so quick to return to normal. You're creating a pattern that you haven't seen for billions of years. You don't even remember this normal. Take your time. Pun intended.
I love that answer. I don't think I want to go back to normal. But the next question is about time. What is happening to our sense of time or measuring time? I feel sometimes that an hour has passed and it only has been 15 minutes.
Doesn't it feel good to know that it really doesn't exist, that you could speed it up, that you could slow it down? For those of you who are operating in more of a fifth density experience, as you lend into the powers of sixth density experiencing, you can indeed speed time up, hence causing you to become more aware of the power of manifestation. You are becoming aware of how reflective and powerful your own very thoughts can be as they boomerang back in your direction. Now, catch the boomerang that you threw out to the universe, or allow it to smack you in the nose. It can only shield you from so much, but keep in mind, if you put something out there, you are so powerful at this point that you require intervention from your own very thoughts, because they created destructive forces of their own. We had to stop time because you are so powerful. I can't even come back into a body as the name construct that you know of as Gandhi because of this.
Thank you. And what will be happening with the connection with each other as we evolve within the human collective?
Many different things, many different choices, many different ways to connect. This cannot thoroughly be described in one sitting today. There are too many choices involved.
I understand. Is it true that our goals as humans are to grow and evolve through our experiences?
It is true that your overall goals have been to grow and evolve through these experiences. It is also true that many of you have forgotten that evolution within the universal law of chaos is painful, and therefore you have halted because there has been much suffering come about through the universal law of chaos. And hereby, you're creating more chaos because you are very resistant to the stillness and to the intervention that your call collectively asked for. It's a bit of a dilemma. You're in a pickle.
And do we have multiple selves in multiple timelines?
Isn't that construct really confusing to consider? While it is true in your illusions, you understand this. And you put so much meaning and valuation systems upon this power of multidimensional living and choosing. And you become so distracted that you choose nothing. Or you become so distracted that you choose everything simultaneously, thus diluting the power of choosing in a creative sense. The more energy you place behind one choice that effectively helps you understand all of the others, then you're not like little bumblebees buzzing around, going from flower to flower, just seeking the sweetness of the ego. Theory to theory, dimension to dimension, if you will. We could continue. When you choose one, because of the law of oneness, you choose all. It is impossible to separate. Yet your minds tend to sway the thought process. And your minds tend to state, if I choose one, I abandon something else. If I go to that something else, I abandon and betray myself. That is because you have given so much power to the law of chaos. You must begin to think for yourselves. We would say in a brand new way, but this is simply remembering the time of your elders. Simplify, be still, and the choices will become apparent.
If each individual has a life purpose, what is the purpose of the human conscious collective?
We are having a bit of a dilemma with the language that you're choosing in your question. In creativity, there are many purposes, and within the universal law of chaos, through which you operate at a 50% dominance currently, you are deciding that there are multiple purposes. And then at a 50% law of oneness, you then decide that there is but one. And you wonder why you're confused. All of these creative choices are the same purpose that actually isn't a purpose. We cannot even use this unique word to describe what is. It's rather a law. It's the way that the earth works and the way that this entire universe works. And the dominant law is the law of one. It's not a purpose. It just is. It just works. And within the dominant law of one, there are various distortions of such laws. Many. Right now, you are working on undoing the suffering caused by your degree of power that you have placed within your belief of universal law of chaos. And you are learning karmically to release resistance to the universal law of responsibility. And you shook that. You resist that. But that is what is being birthed. You are responsible for seeing and feeling the effects of everything that you have created. And believe me, dear ones, until you can look upon the earth with intense peace and love, you have not been responsible or kind to Gaia, to your fellow sovereign humans, and very importantly, to yourselves. And we do not say this to chastise or to be negative, as you would call it. We say this simply for loving awareness and reminding you that being irresponsible does not work. And if you continue to resist that, the universal law of responsibility in your planet, there are natural consequences that Gaia has in mind. You are seeing these natural consequences in the chaos of fire, in the chaos of flooding, in the chaos of governmental control and anarchy. These are natural consequences created from the dreams of fear that are consequences of your giving up power to the universal law of free will. everything has a natural consequence, not a punishment, just as simply a cause and effect. And the universe is not biased in the choosing of the cause or the effect. You are powerful beings, and thereby the effect that you choose by not being responsible is very powerful. We simply bring this to your awareness now, and it is our most important message for you today.
And what can we do to raise our consciousness and help others do the same?
Oh, it's not difficult. It's such a simple thing. Change your language. Your language is full of hate, resentment, fear, confusion, chaos, and ultimately complete disarray. What if every time you chose to speak to another being, and yes, that other is you, because there truly is no other in the law of oneness, if you chose to speak to yourselves or another, what if you chose to not speak unless you ask yourselves the following 3 questions? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? You are here to be helpful. If I were to give a word for the collective human purpose, it is that. You are here to be helpful. And your language is chaotic, unloving, and unhelpful. You can be bold. You can allow your voice to be heard. You can allow your truth to be seen, while also you can be in your truth, be compassionate and kind, and be helpful. And it is your responsibility to always be true to yourselves and others, to always be kind to yourselves and others, to always be helpful and others. This is the bridge that you continue to burn. This right here is the crux of the problem. You see? This is where you become divisive and defensive. So stop there and breathe. This is what saves Earth. This here. Most important. You see?
I think there are many waking up to the true power of the gods that we are, if I'm phrasing that right, opening up our abilities. And some people they are developing, let's say, for example, this sense of clairaudience. What advice can you give these people to better develop these abilities? Because sometimes these abilities seem to appear or develop without really wanting it.
That's one way. Your mind may be unaware that you want it, but if it is, then you do want it. Aye. Isn't it humorous? The way that some of us choose to wake up while being fully aware, and some of us choose to awaken while being rather unaware and confused about it. Your ears are ringing off your heads, if you will. And that is within the nature of what you call clairaudience. Look deeper if you wish to develop this. How can you allow yourselves to be heard? And when the ability isn't working as it shall, to your liking, what are you refusing to hear?
Thank you. I just had a question, but it slipped my mind. I think what Dolores would say is you won't be given anything you can't handle. So if you are having this gift, Know that, it is there for you to take or decline. That's what I feel.
That is protected by a universal law. You will not ever be given more than you have chosen, and you will never be given more than you can bear. And if for any reason the collective view begins to cry out in fear and pain and suffering and sorrow, as you recently have, the biggest cry since the time of Atlantis and Lemuria, your calls will be answered, and there will be a mitigation. There will be an alignment of the emissaries and ambassadors of you that we are to come and help.
Brilliant. Beautiful. May I ask how the channel is doing? How is the channel's body feeling?
The vital energy is rather low within this physical construct at this time. We ask that perhaps you review 3 more lengthy questions and 2 short questions.
Okay, thank you. Now, not all of us are yogis, but when did Kali Yuga start? When will it end, and what comes next?
It's ending now. You collectively chose for it to end now. And let's talk about the power of that choice that holds some of you in that same very construct. The percentage of those choosing to remain in the Kali Yuga are presently 42% of your collective. And there are many more that are choosing otherwise into what you are calling the dawning of the Aquarius. And there are some of you that are choosing to be in all collectives at the same time. There's no word for that. Carry on.
Well, you did mention the dawn of the Aquarius. What kind of myth would most accurately express the relevant qualities of the Aquarian age? If you wish to answer that.
The universal law of rhythm must be effectively balanced and operated within in order to fully embrace the dawn of Aquarius. The universal law of love, as a distortion of the universal law of one, must be effectively balanced and harmonized within the mind, body, and spirit of all beings wishing to enter the dawning of Aquarius.
And maybe this will be a short question, but a lengthy answer. Please, can you define compassion?
Compassion begins with the powerful and simultaneous stirrings, the passions of one's heart, and then is extended to hold and contain the suffering of others in full responsibility for such suffering until the suffering is whole again.
And what impact does prayer and meditations have worldwide when we come together as a human conscious collective?
The impact is the most massive impact that can possibly be described in your language systems. Please continue. We hear you, but only if you are praying and meditating upon the same beliefs and energies. The calls cannot be heard otherwise.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for using the channel today and coming through to communicating with us. I know everyone watching and who will be listening to this in the future will be appreciating all your guidance and information that was given. So I thank you.
Thank you.
And I may now ask if you could bring our channel back to everyday consciousness. Well, thank you everyone for your amazing questions and keeping the conversation going.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Most welcome. Thank you, Pamela. Are you okay?
Yeah, just need a nap.
Mhm.
All right, guys, I'll see you next week for a powerful degree of oneness and channelings and classes throughout the month. We've got a lot going on, so take a peek at our recently posted schedule. And you can find Priscilla at her YouTube channel as well. What is that channel, Priscilla?
Oh, everything's just my name, Priscilla Lewis, and YouTube. You'll find it. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for holding a powerful space for us today. All right.
Bye.